Eve is Misha Donal Beagan agus tá me gobar le Breeding Waders EIP in Éireann. Hi, I'm Donal Beagan and I'm working for the Breeding Waders EIP in Ireland. The Breeding Waders EIP, or European Innovation Partnership, is a €25 million EIP agri project funded by our Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine and our National Parks and Wildlife Service. My role for the Breeding Waders EIP is the management of work packages that contain head starting and nest protection. The Breeding Waders EIP is working to conserve the following 10 wading species that breed in Ireland: Eurasian curlew, northern lapwing, common redshank, common snipe, oystercatcher, dunlin, golden plover, ringed plover, common sandpiper, and red-necked phalarope. Through this agri-environmental scheme, we will be working with farmers, landowners, and other stakeholders to implement innovative on-the-ground conservation measures. One of these conservation measures is head starting. One of the species that we work with that is of most pressing concern is Eurasian curlew, with less than 100 breeding pairs estimated to be left in the Republic of Ireland. And these are fragmented throughout Ireland and confined to habitats such as our blanket bogs, wet grasslands, islands on our large inland lakes, and some silage crop. Since 2022, 73 head-started curlew have been released, and this has been done via the Curlew Conservation Programme in 2022 and 2023, and in 2024, the Breeding Waders EIP. Head-starting for Eurasian curlew was piloted in 2022 and 2023 under the Curlew Conservation Programme, which was spearheaded by our National Parks and Wildlife Service. So this is some of the data that has been gleaned from the annual reports for 2022 and 2023. Of the 2 years, 46 curlew were released through the Curlew Conservation Programme. Following on from the cessation of the Curlew Conservation Programme, the Breeding Waders EIP have continued to head start Eurasian curlew in the Republic of Ireland. So here's some of the data from 2024, where we collected 36 eggs from 10 clutches from vulnerable nests across the country. 31 of those eggs hatched, and 27 juvenile curlew were released at 7 locations around the country, and these locations are illustrated on the map. 5 of those birds were fitted with GPS leg loop harness tags, and I will discuss the information on those later. It's believed that 26 of the 27 released birds have fledged the areas. In the next few slides, I'm going to go through the methods that we use for head starting Eurasian curlew in Ireland. So this entails nest detection, egg collection, incubation, hatching, brooding, and early stage rearing, final rearing and release, and post-release monitoring. Curlew nests are usually detected by traditional survey methods or innovative methods such as, in 2024, the use of a thermal drone. Once detected, eggs are collected on clutch completion and transported a short distance to travel incubators in vehicles. Here we're using Barato travel incubators, and eggs are then transported to our incubation facilities. So Photo Wildlife Park are our project partners and provide us with incubation, brooding and early stage rearing services. Here they're using Brinsey Ovation EX28 incubators for egg incubation, hatching and drying. Once eggs are received at FOTA, they are weighed and recorded daily and plotted, looking to achieve around a 15% weight loss throughout the incubation period. After hatching, chicks are brooded under heat lamps and UV light for the first 5 to 7 days, and after that they're moved outside to early stage rearing aviaries where heat is still provided in huts but weaned off. They're fed on Lundy pellets and they're allowed trays of shallow water to bathe in. So this is a whistle-stop tour of what happens after hatching. Chicks are placed in drying incubators and onwards into brooding tanks, where they're introduced to fresh food and water under heat lamps and UV light. They'll stay there for the first 5 to 7 days before being moved into early stage rearing aviaries, where heat is still provided in a hut but gradually weaned off. After 21 days, chicks are ringed, and it's at that stage that we start to consider moving them to their final release aviaries. After leg ringing and when chicks are deemed fit, they're transported from Voda Wildlife Park to larger aviaries at soft release sites or close to the hard release locations around the country. These large aviaries are constructed of 2.1 metre by 2.1 metre panels consisting of a 19mm weld mesh on the side and a baseboard and a 19mm soft net on top. The chicks' behaviour in these aviaries is monitored by CCTV, and the aviaries are protected by 2 layers of electric fence on the outside, as well as active predator control in the area. Inside in the aviaries, there are shelters along the sides, and there's a scrape dug in the middle to encourage the young curlew to probe and forage. This photograph is an example of our release or rearing aviary. This particular example is a soft release site and is located in very suitable habitat where we have not only breeding curlew, but we have post-breeding curlew and wintering curlew, which gives released head-started curlew optimal chance to merge in with the wild population. Here you'll see an aerial view of the habitat around that release facility. So you've lots of open white landscape, wet grassland, bog, shoreline and islands, offering safe protection for released curlew. This is an example of a hard release site. Here the head-started curlew are transported from their large aviary and released at a coastal location where post-breeding and wintering curlew have already begun together. This is an aerial view of that release site, so you can see why it is favoured by post-breeding and wintering curlew with tidal mudflats and coastal grassland. However, we're unsure of the origin of these post-breeding and wintering curlew, and is unclear whether they are Irish breeding curlew. Released birds are intensively monitored for the hours and days following their release. This is the time when they're most vulnerable to predation, so it's very important. Monitoring continues for the next few weeks until such time where it becomes too difficult to keep track of birds when they have left the area. And at this stage, we're reliant on GPS tracking movements and sightings from leg rings. Although we're carrying out predator control around the release areas, predation can still occur post-release, and especially in areas where predation risk management is difficult due to the presence of unsuitable habitats that support generous predators. So we have had a couple of confirmed cases of predation. This one here is from fox. We've had a predation incident from a bird of prey as well. But this one here we were able to detect because this bird was fitted with a GPS tag in 2024. This was 2 nights post-release, so we were able to detect quite quickly that this bird had been predated. Very disappointing to lose a bird so early on, but we do believe that they are most at risk for the first 7 to 10 days post-release, before they can become acclimatized to their new environment and evade predation. As previously mentioned, we were able to fit 5 GPS leg loop harness tags to 5 of our head-started curlew this year, and this was with the help from our friends in the WWT. So this is some of the data we've been able to capture from this on the map on the left, as you'll see to the top, where the birds are released. They occupy the area in which they are released for the first couple of weeks before vacating and heading for wintering grounds in Galway Bay, where they are now located with other wintering curlew. So this is really important data for us to be able to capture, to be able to monitor our head-started curlew into the winter and hopefully into the following seasons when it starts to breed. This video shows another one of our GPS tagged head-started curlew from 2024. As you will see, is tilting the head and assessing the danger above. It's here with other curlew and feeding with other curlew, doing all the things that wild curlew do, and it looks to be in great condition. We believe that there are a couple of really important factors post-release for head-started curlew, and those are that predation risk is low in the area in which they are released, and that they are offered a fast opportunity to merge with wild curlew populations. So we intend to increase our tagging efforts for 2025 for head-started curlew, and we look forward to seeing the results and following the movements of these birds into the coming seasons. Fortunately, we haven't had too many issues with rearing curlew. These are some of the problems that we have encountered. On the far left, you will see a young curlew chick presenting with an inflammation of the feather calamus, or the feather tips on the wings. As you'll see, it's quite painful looking for the bird, and stunts the growth and development of the feathers and wing. So we had to keep this bird behind for longer before it could be released and before those feathers could fully develop. The middle photograph shows a young curlew chick with a slinged wing. All 4 chicks from that particular clutch presented with wing droop, and all 4 of those chicks had to be fitted with slings, which is not ideal because at that stage of their life they're beginning to exercise those wings and strengthen them up for practicing flights. So again, we needed to hold these curlew back after the slings were removed, to ensure that they could fully develop their wings before being released. Over on the right hand side, you will see some of the more serious stuff that we've encountered. On the top, the x-ray, we encountered a fractured leg where we believe a bird collided with a side panel of the release aviary, and below you will see some pieces of metal impacted in the stomach of a curlew. Again, we believe that's from the galvanized weld mesh on the side panels of the aviary. So these birds were all eventually released, but there is some work to be done in improving things, especially with the release aviaries, to create a softer approach rather than the more rigid weld mesh that we're using or have been using. So we're looking at a softer approach for that, and we're really lucky that we can lean on project partners that have expertise in veterinary care for these health issues. So I'm going to wrap things up here by giving my own opinion on head starting. I believe it's a short-term solution for a long-term problem, and that's why the Breeding Waders EIP have various other aspects such as habitat enhancement and restoration, predation risk management, and influencing policy at government and EU level that we are working on. So yes, head starting will help boost our curlew populations to prevent their extirpation in Ireland, but it requires much more than that, and it's really only a tool in our conservation toolbox for waders. Finally, with less than 100 breeding pairs of curlew left in the Republic of Ireland, we really struggled to produce enough eggs each year for our head starting programme. Through our project partners at Photo Wildlife Park and at Dublin Zoo, we have both the capacity and the professionalism to head start a lot more curlew. So this is a plea to everyone out there listening. If you're aware of any surplus curlew eggs or any curlew eggs that may be available, we would really love to collaborate with someone on head starting those. The Irish Sea is only a small jump across the water. It's not an obstacle for curlew, and therefore it shouldn't be for us. And lastly, I'd really like to thank you all so much for listening, and a special thanks to Mary and the team at Curlew Action for all the great work they do and for organising this event. So thanks a million. Gura míle maith agad.